This is the I Love Success podcast. I'm Peter Jarboh, and I have made a vow to myself to help as many people as possible to achieve their dreams. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome to this special episode of the I Love Success podcast. I'm here with the amazing entrepreneur and high performance coach, Bedros Keuilian. We're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is to help you crush your goals in 2020. So let's do this. Hey, Bedros.
Thanks for having me, Peter. I appreciate you being back, man.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about you the last year and following your journey and what you do, and I kind of decided this year I want to do something special for my audience. I want them to kind of be able to set their goals for 2020 and not only set the goals that many people do, actually pursue them and achieve them. Which is very different from just like a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
So before we go into that, I just want to kind of talk a little bit with you. What's been going on the last year for you in your life?
Yeah, good question. So in the last year, I like to set mega goals. And every time I think my goal is going to be too big, I think about Elon Musk, who currently has a Tesla on a rocket on its way to Mars. Yeah. And I go, is my goal that big? No, it's not. Then it's not. I don't need to fear it, right? Once you compare what you think is a big goal to someone else's, you realize this is actually not that big of a goal. So I like to set mega goals for me. And so I decided I wanted to launch a supplement company. So in the last year, we launched a supplement company, which really works hand in hand with our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise. We've got hundreds of franchise locations all across the United States and the world, and millions of clients who use Fit Body Bootcamp when they go work out there. They want to have supplements, and we would send them to supplement stores. And of course, supplement stores sell them the highest profit product with the lowest quality. And so I said, we got to have our own supplements. And so we launched the TrueLean brand, and it just took off. It did 1.4 million in the first 4 months alone. Wow. We had our trials and tribulations. So I launched that as a supplement company. I launched a men's personal development program called The Project, which is 16 men once a month, 16 new men for 75 hours. Myself, a Navy SEAL who's a friend of mine, a Marine who's a friend of mine, a SWAT sniper, and an MMA fighter. We coach them for 75 hours and take them through a 75-hour experience where we break them down physically, mentally, and emotionally and rebuild them into what we call modern-day knights. And these are men who are entrepreneurs, have families, they're stressed out, they're suffering in silence, maybe they have addictions that are secret, gambling, drugs, alcohol, whatever. And I realized no one's really looking after these men because they're meant to just suck it up, just be a man and figure it out. Well, we need to figure it out by working together and talking about it. But most men don't really want to talk about anything other than superficial stuff. Yeah. And so by really beating them up physically, mentally, emotionally for 75 hours, they create a deep bond, deep commitment to each other and to the instructors. And we're coming on to our third class now, which has just been an amazing experience. So between TrueLean and The Project, those two things have had me busy in this 2019 year. And of course, our Fit Body Bootcamp franchise and my coaching business, my speaking gigs. My book just became a 1-year-old, hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller. So I've just been very blessed, but very busy.
Yeah. This is so interesting. I have the honor of sitting down with so many high performers, and when you talk about all these things and everything seems to be going so well. So for people looking from the outside, they're like, yeah, that's really good, but I'm not like Bedros. What do you want to say to them?
That's a good question. See, I love the questions you ask. This is why I love when you're here. You know how I said we did $1.4 million in the first 4 months of TrueLean? The first month that we launched it, we literally didn't sell anything because instead of creating one specific product, like you can see the containers over there, we should have just created the protein. Instead, we created 14 different SKUs, greens, BCAAs, all these different things that our franchise owners were going to buy. Because it was confusing for them, we thought in the first month we were going to sell a couple $1 million worth of product. Dude, it sat on the shelves for like 2 months. And when you have a few $1 million worth of product, sitting on the shelf for 2 months. That's literally money parked, not making interest, not making you money. So there's my first like big thing that went wrong, right? And the project, when you think about, well, the project, the personal development program for men, I do it in a building that I bought 2 years ago, which was supposed to be our corporate office. I think I told you about that.
Yeah.
But it's across the street from the men's prison. I decided I don't want to have a corporate office. So I made a mistake buying a $1.1 million business or building. And so finally, after 2 years of it being empty, yeah, I turned it into a private gym, but it still has a mortgage of $8,000 a month. Yeah. Finally, after 2 years, we're making money with that by having the project there. Yeah. And so when you really think about it, every single success I've had, even my franchise, people see that we've hit the Inc. 5000 list 4 years in a row. Entrepreneur Magazine's fastest growing franchise, top 100 franchise in Entrepreneur Magazine the last 2 years. Well, when you look at 2010, 11, 12, 13, the first 4 years of Fit Body Bootcamp, me and my business partner broke up because we were in such massive debt that we just started to argue and fight all the time. I wrote about it in my book, Man Up, how damaging my business was to my health and my relationship because I couldn't figure out how to launch a franchise because it's different than a coaching business. Yeah. Every single business that I launch comes with adversity. And whatever my next thing is going to be in 2020 and beyond, I guarantee you it will have adversity. The difference is I now know, because I've been in the trenches for so long, that success only comes after failure. Not it's successful when you launch it. It's just the world sees the success because on Instagram I go, here's what we're doing, the project. Do you know how many attorneys I had to talk about when they go, wait, you're going to have 16 men dig holes and bury themselves? You can't do that. I had to have attorneys, doctors, medics on site for 75 hours. How do you get all that? How do you work with the city? Because we take these guys for 75 hours all around the city, running, walking with logs on their shoulders, right? So when you think about all the different adversities, failures, people telling you can't do it, you're going to kill someone. Okay, we have a medic on hand. What if they have a heart attack? Okay, we'll get an AED. What if, all the what ifs, there's going to be what ifs every single time. There's going to be failure, but failure is the byproduct. It is the most important, essential ingredient to success. Yeah. Failure. And so whatever the thing I launch next year, I even told my wife, I said, I wonder what the failure is going to be with Keuilian, because we couldn't figure it out. We got a good VP running it. We got a good team built around him. She goes, man, everything's great. Like, he's awesome. The team's awesome. The supplement, the formulator, the scientists who make the supplement for us, they're awesome. I'm like, just watch. When we launch it, something's gonna go wrong. I know it. Everything was perfect, and I call it bursting the bubble. Yeah. In a vacuum, Peter, everything is perfect. Fit Body Bootcamp was perfect in a vacuum. Keuilian was perfect in a vacuum, and that's here. That's in your brain, in your mind. As soon as you burst the bubble, you put it out into the world, something must go wrong in order for you to be successful. Otherwise, you cannot be successful. That's what people misunderstand.
I think that's a huge point. And what I want to dig a little bit deeper before we talk about the process of goal setting is, like, so what is the differentiator for people like yourself who keep going and don't stop for when the first failure comes? So it must be something, how you deal with failure, how you think, and your mindset. Like, can you explain that?
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to tell you, and I think we talked about this before, I believe entrepreneurship is not for everybody. Right now, it's such a big, cool thing to be an entrepreneur, and I don't understand why, because who wants a ton of responsibility for an idea that already exists? Some other person has a franchise already. There's tons of fitness franchises, tons of supplement companies, tons of men's self-development programs, tons and tons and tons. So you come up with an idea that someone already has, they're already marketing it, you're going to invest money, take risks, hire employees, take responsibility for them, legal issues, health department issues if it's supplements, right? You really have to be a special kind of character to say, I want to take on this challenge. And I believe for me, and for most really successful entrepreneurs I've met, it's the rage in their eyes, the chip on their shoulder, the fire in their belly. Enough people have to have told you, you can't do it. Yeah. You're not meant to, you didn't graduate college, Bedros, you barely made it out of high school. You're an immigrant, you're a foreigner to this country. How are you going to make it? You don't even have a college degree, and you're going to do all these things? And I use all of that, and people go, well, you should do it with happiness. Look, I am happy. This is me happy. Intense is happy for me. But I have rage in my eyes, a chip on my shoulder, and fire in my belly for every single person that told me that I can't do it, and I somehow get off on the adversity. The tougher it is, the more I get off on it. I don't want it, but I just somehow need it in my life. And the best entrepreneurs, like Elon Musk, who is this guy who created PayPal to think that he can leave technology world and create the best electric car on the planet, even though Chevy, Ford, Dodge, Toyota, Honda, and all the Japanese brands already have electric cars? Like, is he nuts, right? And look at all the pushback he got and all the lobbyists. But he thrives off adversity. He wants people to tell him you can't do it, so he can do it. That's what makes a great entrepreneur. That's what feeds me. And the people who can't take that, don't want adversity, they should become team members and they should be intrapreneurs. In other words, like, I can't do what Ed's doing right here behind the cameras. Like, he's gifted. The man is gifted, not just talented, gifted, that he will take this footage from these 3 different cameras and the audio and the B-rolls that he'll put in, and it'll be this amazing thing for us to show the world, right? He's an entrepreneur. He does this better than anyone else I know. Yeah. And he makes us make money, and so he gets money for it. Be an entrepreneur if you don't want to be the entrepreneur, but it's not for everybody. I just am willing to suffer, and I love the pain, and I love to push through, and I think about all the people that told me no, and in my mind I go, take that. Yeah. You got to be that kind of person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I don't know why. I'm attracted by that shit.
Right, right.
Which is kind of stupid in a way, but it makes me feel fucking alive too.
It does. And you know, look, and your marriage, if you're an entrepreneur, your marriage is going to feel it. Because if you're an entrepreneur, your business is going to be the other woman or the other guy at some point. Yeah. That's it. It has to be. Because you have to give it full-time attention, especially in the infancy stage, right? And so I ask people, do you really want to go through all that pain? Or would you rather just be an entrepreneur, get health benefits? In our case, we give something like 19 paid days off a year. We give a pension plan, a 401k, all this good pay. Like, it's not for everybody. But if you're willing to be that kind of nut like you and I are, go for it. Yeah. But just know that you are going to feel the pain before the pleasure comes. Yeah. It's the formula.
Yeah, it's true. I'm curious, do you remember, Bedros, the first time in your life you had a dream?
Yeah, I think the first time in my life that I had a dream was when it was more like a vision, because I was awake, right? And it was, no one's going to tell me that what I'm doing is wrong. I was working in the kitchen at Disneyland, the Carnation Cafe, one of my first jobs that I had. And the manager came in, and I had sideburns back then. I didn't have facial hair, I just had sideburns. And they were a little bit longer than my earlobes. Yeah. And it was really busy in the kitchen, Peter, and she comes in, she puts a pen along my earlobe, and I feel the pen, and I pull back, and I go, what are you doing? She goes, because the Disney standards were, if your sideburns are longer than your earlobe, you have to go shave it up. And she goes, go shave up we're going to dock your pay, go shave up your sideburns. I was like, we're super busy right now. And Main Street is packed with people who are going to watch the parade, and I can't cross Main Street. Like, I'll be hurting all my coworkers. She didn't care. And at that point, like, I was like, I'm going to open up my own restaurant, because I work in a restaurant. I'm going to open my own restaurant. I'm going to be the chef. No one's going to do it better than me. And I can grow my facial hair any way I want and be able to express myself. But my food is going to speak for my results and not how I look, right? And I was really locked on to actually opening up a restaurant. Once I learned the stats about restaurant and I realized how passionate I was about fitness, then I said, hell or high water, I'm going to open up a gym. But I knew my dream was I need to be employed by myself because I'm not employable. The previous employer that I had before that, we got into an argument because I felt there was a better way to do it. And guess what? There's probably people in my building that feel there's a better way to do something. Difference is I'm not closed-minded. They come to me and they go, hey, here's a better way of doing it. If it makes sense, let's do it. We have a new process. Yeah. If I go, it won't make sense and here's why, I've educated my team to not get offended by it. I felt I had a better way, and maybe I didn't. I don't know. But the owner was just digging his heels in, and I said, I'm not employable. I can't ever have a boss, and so I was going to be my own boss. Like, that was my first vision. It's just instead of a restaurant, I wanted to go towards fitness because that was my big passion. And I remember saying to myself, I'll do whatever I can to be successful at it, which is why when I started off as a personal trainer, I was a bouncer at a bar and still working at Disneyland as a fry cook because I loved personal training so much. While it didn't pay the bills, I loved it so much. I had 2 other jobs to pay the bills just so I could do this. Yeah. But that was the first time I had a dream, and I was like, okay, now how do I feed this dream? I was just locked onto that.
It's amazing, and I'm just thinking kind of the process of dreaming. And I think when we are young kids,
Yeah.
you have kids, like we dream without limitations.
Yeah.
And our dreams comes from pleasure rather than pain.
Yeah.
But once we grew a little bit older, when we get into like everybody's had like a shitty job or things like that, then our dreams come from pain,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Which is so interesting. And I think that's good for the people listening to know, like a dream doesn't have to come from pleasure. It could also come from pain and finding a solution, because that's what a company basically is. If you're a good problem solver and can share that problem solving with the world to many people, you're gonna be successful.
Yep.
So what do we want to say to people that are like, they've had a decent year or shitty year or even a good year, but they feel like deep down, like, this is not what I'm supposed to do on this planet. Like, what's the first step for them to do?
Well, the first step is to figure out what they should be doing, right? And I can tell you this, man, because I'm 45 now. I started personal training when I was 24 years old, right? When I had like 3 clients, wasn't making any money, not enough to make that my full-time gig. But at 23, all I wanted to do was if I could just own one gym, Peter, that was it. I'm good, man. Now we have, with our franchise, over 500 locations worldwide, and another couple hundred scheduled to open in the development phase. And my dreams are bigger. But I went right to the pain dream. Like, the pain is what motivated me to dream bigger and be an entrepreneur. But what I can tell people who had a good year, a bad year, a so-so year, it doesn't matter. If you don't think if you're not doing what you should be doing, ask yourself, what would I do for free? Like, this is what I did to myself. What would I do for free if someone else, if Peter said, I'm going to pay for your whole lifestyle, your health benefits, your family's vacations, Bedros, pick the one thing you would do for free. Well, for me, it would still be personal training. Like, I would be personal training, which is what I did. I had 2 jobs paying for my other job, right? Because of my passion. Because the moment you put money aside and you say, what would I do for free if my whole lifestyle was paid for? Everyone's going to think of it. Someone's going to say, well, I would go paint on walls. I would just be the best graffiti artist on the planet. Good. And then I would say, get so good at it that people want to pay you. And that's the piece that people forget. They get just good enough where they're just like everybody else. You're just a graffiti artist. I can hire you, I can hire this guy, I can hire that guy. Or you're a great, massage therapist. But the best massage therapist, I bet we can figure out who that is. They get paid more than all the others. My friend Tom Bilyeu, who co-founder of Quest Nutrition, Quest Bars, says there's always room at the top for the best. And proof of that is Tesla. All these other car companies were out there before. He makes an electric car, and now he's selling all the other car companies 2 to 1 where electric cars are concerned, because it's a better product. It just is a better product. And I believe that if you just stop and go, what would I do for free if someone else paid for my lifestyle, and just forget about money for a moment, that it would just make me happy, I could do it 24 hours a day. And then you go, okay, now how could I be so good at it where others would pay me? Bingo, you found your purpose. Now, a decade from now, that might be different. Your purpose might be different. Because now I love helping men who are in a position that I was in 10 years ago. Stressed out, suffering, freaking out, marriage, kids, business. How do I balance it all? Now I know how to do it at 45 years old. At 35, I was a stress case, and I wrote about it in my book. And so now I would do that for free. The thing is, I've got now the Navy SEAL, the Marine, the SWAT sniper, the MMA guy. I got such amazing, talented people around me, and I've developed the skill of being a good entrepreneur that I can charge for it. That we charge $12,000 a person to go through that experience, because I've got the right team and we deliver such an outcome. But I would do that for free. And then I said, well, how can I get so good? Can I build a team around me so effective that we can charge for it so that they can get paid? And then we did.
Yeah, I mean, life comes in seasons, and your passions and goals are going to change. It does that for everybody. And one thing that I feel, and what I see when I'm working with people that are setting goals, they see someone like you that are doing great things and say, I want to do that, but the self-belief saying, no, I can't. So instead of starting, they go and buy a bag of chips, you know? So how do we get them to start with the goal is, of course, to become really good at something, but what is the first step to get that started?
I think there's maybe 2 first steps. I'm going to tell you what those are. One of them is to delay gratification. Like they have found, studies show over and over again that if you're the type of person that can delay gratification, there's a little video they did with little kids. I don't know if you saw it with the marshmallows.
Yep.
Right? They say you can have one marshmallow now, or if you wait 30 minutes, we'll give you two. And something like 10% of the kids were willing to delay the gratification. They just waited with the marshmallow sitting in front of them for 30 minutes so they can have two. Yeah. All the other ones ate it. Yeah. Immediate gratification. So going back to your bag of chips, right? They go, man, I got this dream. I know this will change humanity. This will change my family's entire economic system. I think this is my purpose. Oh, it sounds scary. It's going to take long. I'll go get chips or whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
And it's because whether it's food or alcohol or TV or posting something on the internet, like motivational, inspirational, getting a whole bunch of likes, it's immediate. All those things are immediate and creates a dopamine hit. Dopamine is a very addictive chemical. What we're looking for is serotonin. Both of those are feel-good drugs in our head. Yeah. Dopamine, feel-good chemical. Serotonin, feel-good chemical. The difference is serotonin comes from delayed gratification, long-term commitment to a task that's so painful that you're gonna do anyway to create the outcome. You created serotonin. Dopamine is when you just gave the talk of your life and everybody stands up and claps and you just feel good about yourself, but then you go back to your hotel and you're like, right? Or you eat the bag of chips and you feel good because of dopamine and then, God, how many calories was that? How long am I gonna have to work out to burn that off, right? And so one, understand that you must condition yourself to love delayed gratification. That's the science behind that. Number two, if the person has confidence, dude, if they have confidence, they won't grab the chips. Part of the reason I think people lean towards chips, TV, alcohol, gambling, distractions basically, right, is because they lack confidence. And Ed Milet says it really well. He says, if you want to build confidence, then you have to make a promise and keep a promise to yourself. Not to you, to yourself. And what I wrote in my book was, every morning you have a chance to keep your first promise of the day. The night before, on your phone or on your clock, you set the alarm, what time you're gonna wake up. And if you hit that snooze button, you're breaking the first promise of the day. You promised yourself, I'd wake up at 5 a.m., I would dominate my day, and then you hit that snooze button, you just told your brain, your subconscious mind, that I am not credible and I am not trustworthy. And confidence is literally credibility and trust in yourself. So now I'm less likely to go work out. I've already broke one promise. I'm very likely to break the next promise. And if I broke the second promise, then I'm gonna break the third promise. I'm not gonna eat clean anymore today. And I was gonna make 5 sales calls, maybe I'll just make 1. Now it's a whole day of promise breaking. Your confidence has eroded and you are now a person of poor trust and poor credibility. And so if you keep those micro promises to yourself, then you will build the confidence and credibility, the trust in yourself. Like, I trust that if I'm gonna be here and deliver the best freaking interview for you, it doesn't matter if my building is burning down outside, you're getting the best interview. My car could have just been stolen from the parking lot, you're getting the best interview. My wife could say our home is on fire, you're getting the best interview. I would make sure they're out of the house, right?
And then come.
Right, yeah. Because I have such trust and credibility in myself. And so you gotta delay gratification and you must keep promises, the smallest promises that you think people think it's insignificant. It's just 10 minutes of sleep. I'm gonna hit snooze and, no man, you broke a promise and you're telling yourself that you are not trustworthy. And that will carry on into the bigger promises you're trying to make, which is starting a business.
I mean, it all adds up. And it was funny when you talked about the car. When I started my car at the parking lot in Marina Del Rey earlier this morning at noon, and I was supposed to be here too, it didn't start.
Oh boy.
It always starts. So I was like, fuck, what do I do? Because it's 60 miles. I was looking, can I run here? No. I looked at the Uber.
Yeah.
I was like, how can I rent the car? Luckily, someone jump-started for me. I went to the mechanic and I came here, but I knew I was going to be here no matter what. No, and this is a conditioning that I've been doing for all my life. And that's why we're here today and sitting and talking. And the interesting thing is that I see amazing people all the time, or with the potential to be amazing. But there's a lot of excuses. As soon as something goes wrong, I could easily just send an email and be super like, hey, my car broke down, and like, you taking off your busy time and I'm not gonna show up because a little thing that just happened.
Yeah.
And this is what you said earlier. before success comes the failure.
Yeah.
How are you going to deal with that in that moment, right?
Your car was meant to break down.
Yeah.
Because this is going to be an amazing interview for your audience. Yeah. But for this to happen, for you to have the success of this, that failure had to happen. It's the formula. As soon as people accept it, it's the formula, then they go, okay, just wait for the failure. Just wait. It's going to come.
Bring it on. Yeah.
Look at all the options you came up with. You said, okay, my car broke down. None of the options you mentioned were to call me or Joan and say, I'm not coming. It was, can I run? Can I Uber? Can I rent a car? Can I go to the mechanic? Okay, I got time for the mechanic. Like, you came up automatically with 4 options. Yeah. All of them ended you up here. Yeah. That's the difference between the doer and the non-doer.
Yeah. And I think also it's because it's not all about me. My promise to myself is super important, and that is discipline. But it's also, why am I doing this?
Yes.
This is going to help many, many people. So I think when it comes to setting goals too, it should come from your heart, from your desire, but it should also answer the question, why are you doing this? Who is going to benefit from what you're doing?
Yeah, yeah. Public accountability is huge.
Yeah.
So with our Fit Body Bootcamp locations, you know, all of our location owners, when we have these big challenges that we do 3 times a year for all the clients in their community, one of the first things they say is, okay, well, how much weight do you want to lose in the next 10 weeks? It's a 10-week challenge. Yeah. And let's say they say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Great. Go tell 5 of the closest people around you, right? Because now you don't want to let them down. So it's a very selfish thing and easy to let yourself down. But if I hold all these public people accountable, you're holding your audience accountable. Yeah. You are held accountable by your audience that you will show up here, even if you had to run to get this interview. And public accountability is massive. And if you put it out there to 5 people who you don't want to let down, brother, you are going to do it no matter what. Yeah. And actually, that's one of the biggest things of goal setting, right? Like, be vocal about it. Share with now we got social media. Tell the world when you're going to do it by. And then when that date comes, say, look, I did it.
Yeah. I think that's huge. But don't get discouraged off the naysayers, right? Because there's going to be, like, most people are going to be positive, but I mean, let's face it, I'm from Sweden. When you have a mega goal, like, most people, they're not going to support it. Like, how do you deal with that? Especially if you haven't conditioned your, like, kind of confidence yet, because it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Again, you ask such great questions. So before my confidence was conditioned where I believe I can do anything. By the way, the only reason I believe I can do anything I put my mind to is I've been smart enough in the last 8-9 years to surround myself with an amazing team. Yeah. Right? Like, if I didn't have the team that I have, I would probably just do one thing, like open up a gym and be a trainer. I'd be really good at it and be successful for one gym, but I'm able to be this mega guy because of the people behind me. But to answer your question, before I had the confidence, for me, it was this like burning desire. I had this, like, I knew I was meant for more. Yeah. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know if we talked about it in the last interview. I was abused as a child, sexually abused, and then you come to the United States as a foreigner, and then you're, like, bullied. Yeah. So I've had, while I didn't have confidence, I've had this chip on my shoulder. It goes back to the first thing we talked about here, this chip on my shoulder to prove people wrong. And so when people do tell me, and I've had plenty of people in my life, Armenians are probably no different than Swedes, where, you know, oh, that's too big. Just go get that's too big. You can't do that. You don't have a college degree. You barely graduated high school. Just go get a good job, son. Like, they mean well, but I take it as a personal attack. And so I started to do something, I don't know if it was healthy, but I now realize there's a healthy way of doing it. I started to cut people out of my life. Again, it's probably emotionally violent to do that, to cut out close friends, family members. And I talk about this in my book. I think I talked about it on the last interview with you. For 16 months, I got a therapist to talk about what happened to me as a kid, because I realized this was a big thing for me that I never got over, that I never processed through. So my therapist because I told my therapist, I'm like, man, I can cut anybody out of my life. If they tell me I can't do something, you're cut. He goes, maybe take it easy. He goes, but you can edit the relationship. So if you know someone is a naysayer, right, then maybe you don't want to share that goal with them. You don't want to share that dream with them. Share it with someone like you, where Peter's going to go like, dude, I believe in you. I got your back. What's your timeline so that I can hold you accountable? Like, I would tell you my goals. I wouldn't tell necessarily my brother my goals. I know he loves me, he wants the best for me, but he thinks small. And he thinks, because his capacity is small, that my capacity, he transfers his feelings, right? He projects his feelings on me. And so when I used to tell my brother and my dad, they go, son, you can't do it. No, I can. You're just not the one who's going to encourage me. Peter is. And so be willing to edit. So there's a term for it. Be willing to edit people out of your life. In other words, don't tell them your dreams and goals. Now, if you're going to put on social media, well, know that there's going to be negative people. They're just really, all they're doing is they're reacting to the shitty person that they are. Like when someone, like the other day, someone called me a snake oil salesman. Hey, you used to be an awesome fitness business marketer, but now you're a snake oil salesman. You're greedy. You keep trying to grow Fit Body Bootcamp to 2,500 locations. And then he said, you sell so hard. When is enough enough? And I started to think like, when is enough enough? Well, I adopted Shriners Children's Hospital, Toys for Tots, and Compassion International as the 3 charities that we give millions of dollars to. These kids, is there enough money I can give them for their medical services? Is there enough money I can give Compassion International for the kids who are going hungry and need education? Is there enough money I can give to Toys for Tots to buy more gifts? Because every year while we help something like actually this Saturday we're doing Toys for Tots? This Saturday we're doing again, something like $80,000 in toys for Tots. That's still gonna leave another 200,000 kids just in Southern California without toys. Yeah. Like, when's enough enough? I can't do enough. I need to grow my businesses bigger. Yeah. So that guy, because I talk about how big I wanna get, he is not happy with how small he is in life. He knows he's not pushing himself like he should be. So when I talk about big goals and big dreams, it's like holding a mirror to him and saying, this is what you could be, this is your potential, but you're not doing it. And he goes, fuck you, when's enough enough? You're greedy, you're pushy, you're a snake oil salesman. Now, I know enough to go, he's just talking about his own problems. Yeah. So you got to be able to, again, filter those people out on social media, and then people close around you, edit the conversation. Don't eliminate the relationship like I used to. Yeah. Edit the conversation where only share your dreams and goals with the people who are supporters.
Yeah. No, I agree. And when you said the thing with the mirror, like, it's so interesting because I look at myself in the mirror every morning, and I remember the times when I was like overweight, bullied, and like I didn't like myself. Yeah. And that's why I accepted to be bullied, to be like, to don't have any friends, and like it got to me so much. But now through like meeting with people like yourself and like doing the small steps, I realized I love who I am and who I am becoming. Mm-hmm. So I think for people now, like take a reality check, look at yourself and like look at your life. Like, we believe in you. Like, I believe that you have potential to do something really cool with your life if you decide to do it. Now it's time to kind of ask yourself, what needs to happen for me to get there, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. You know, can I tell you something off what you just reminded me? When I was bullied, when I was fat and out of shape as a kid and just had low self-esteem, that's when I was most negative. Yeah. Like when I would hear people talk about big, exciting things in their life, I didn't even have the confidence to outwardly tell them they're not able to. Yeah. But in my mind, I was like, they're not going to make it. Yeah. Like, I was a negative person because I was bullied and fat and out of shape. Like, I didn't care for myself. There was no self-care, no self-discipline. And I think that's when you're the most negative and toxic and you want to kill other people's dreams. Like, well, shit, I'm not going to make it in life. Why should they? Yeah. You know, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, it's also, if you're not with the right crowd and you're not that person yet, still have the confidence and believe that you can create that flower or whatever you want to call it, because there's so many people that have done it and we want to share the process. So do you think it's important to write down your goals?
Yes. Yes. Every year, in fact, we're the first week of December now. Over the week of Christmas, my family and I will be in Maui. We've got a little family tradition. Me, my wife, and my 2 kids go to Maui for Christmas. And we're taking our journal with us that my wife writes in it all the time. We review last year's goals, and did we meet them? Did we beat them? Or are we behind? Yeah. And then we set the goals for 2020. Yeah. And just by writing it down, and I know, like, you know, you hear about write it down, read it every day, and then go take action. I'm going to be honest with you. We write it down, I never see it again. But because it's ingrained here and because I've got this ability to just go out and do, like we write it down, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I got a whole year, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
Now, so it always comes to me as a surprise because I've already forgot some of the things we've written because I don't read it every day. But I can't wait until 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks when we go to Hawaii to review that and go, holy shit, we beat that. Like I know the project wasn't even on there. Yeah. And that's my favorite one is we go, and here's all the things we came up with that we didn't even set our goal for. Yeah. Literally, a friend of mine is a Navy SEAL, and he's 48 years old, and he's tired of deploying because he got out of the SEALs, and I can talk about it now, he's deploying for the CIA, right, to Benghazi and to Afghanistan. And at 48, like, you're pretty old to be any kind of warrior at that point. Yeah. And I was talking to him, I said, Ray, how many more deployments do you have? He goes, I want to stop now. I just don't have an income stream because I have a very specialized skill. I know how to like kill and capture people and, tap into satellites and listen and do that, reconnaissance. I said, well, listen, I've got this idea for this thing. Let me tell you about it. You tell me if you would be willing to help me with it. If so, I'll bring you on board as an instructor and you tell me what your salary is that the CIA is paying you, and I think I can make that happen. So that happened halfway throughout the year. We never even wrote that. It was an opportunity that came up. And so we're going to literally write that down in the journal that's an opportunity that came up, and that's something that we did. Then we'll write the project. How many men do we want to put through the project in 2020? And then next year, 2021, like, did we put them through? Did we meet the goal? So it is important to write your goals. It is important to read them every day, which I don't, but I highly recommend anyone new as an entrepreneur, read them every day and then go and execute.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think there's some type of magic that happens when you write down a goal. A couple of years ago, I was working with the national team, and I told everybody, write down your name and world champion after. And everybody was starting to shake because they were going to the world championship a couple of weeks after. And the reason why I think that it was so hard for them is because we can lie to our parents, we can lie to our spouses, our friends, we can even lie to ourselves, but when we're fucking writing it down, it's real.
It's real, man.
And that's why I think something magical happens when you write things down, because unconsciously, even if I agree, you should look at it, you should know how to work on it daily, but even if you don't, something will happen and shift in your mind.
Yeah. That's been scientifically proven as well. So I'm sure you know the movie The Secret.
Yep.
John Ashroff says, and this actually happened to me, it's so crazy. John Ashroff says he literally cut out the picture of a house out of like a home magazine in San Diego, in Rancho Bernardo. And then he put it on his vision board, and then they were moving, so he packed up his vision board. So it had a car, it had the house, it had the kind of business he wants to run, the kind of family he wanted to have. But then he's packing, so he packs it all up and he never opens that box. Like 10 years later or 5 years later, I forget what it is, he finds the box now that he's living in this new house and he opens it. It's the same house. Dude, it's the same house. So there's one there. Manny Koshpin, a friend of mine who lives in Irvine out here, he literally draws that he's gonna live in the Newport Hills on a double lot property, and somehow he's going to have a car full of garages. And he draws this out with like just a pencil. He's got the drawing, he showed me. And then he draws this beautiful brunette woman with almond-shaped eyes. Today, his wife Layla looks just like that picture. He lives in a double lot, and this is when he was broke, working in a gas station, because the mind starts looking for it. So that's a second example. The third example is in Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics. He says, if you have a problem, put it in the theater of your mind. And he says, okay, like I have a problem. I need to solve how I'm going to sell more franchises. I need, let's say, 5 more franchises sold each month. And he goes, just think about it every night, how you're going to sell it before you go to bed. And when you do, your subconscious mind is most active at night when you're sleeping. That's what dreaming is. Your subconscious mind wakes up and says, there are no limits. Let me explore the possibilities. And Maxwell Maltz says, when you put it in the theater of the mind, by thinking about it the last thing before you go to bed, the subconscious mind starts working on it. And you ever wake up with like great ideas? Yeah. That's what that is. You put something in your subconscious mind, the theater of the mind started to work on it, and it goes, because your conscious mind has all these limits. Subconscious mind has no limits, and it goes, here's your answer, buddy.
Boom.
Now you got to go execute it. That's the scary part.
Yeah.
But here's your answer to get 5 more franchises or the double lot or the new house or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I love that. Like we are capable of it here. We just sometimes don't have the guts here. Like these two things are 11 inches apart, the brain and the heart. But sometimes it's miles apart, Peter. That's the scary thing, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's so like this is some like I study success and I really want to see the best of every human being be out there. It doesn't mean that they have to have amazing businesses, but I want to see their full potential if it's with their family, with like traveling, personal goals, whatever it is. But there's one thing called fear, right? That stops so many people from even trying. How have you worked with fear in your life to kind of say, hey, fuck it, I'm going to do this anyway?
I'm going to share with you what Kevin, my therapist, shared with me about fear. It made total sense. This is what fear is. When we are having fear about something, anything, asking out a young lady to a date, asking Peter to be a business partner, starting to franchise in Costa Rica, it doesn't matter. Supplement line. Fear is you're either living in the past or you're living in the future, meaning maybe in the past when you asked out a young lady, she rejected you in front of all your friends and it hurt. And so as soon as you see this new person, you hit it off, you guys have good energy, but now you want to ask her on a date, an official date, you think back what happened, that's fear. You're living in the past. What if it happens again, right? Because it happened once before. That's living in the past. Living in the future is assuming something bad is going to happen. So I'm going to ask her out, oh man, what if she says no? What if the date doesn't go well? What if she thinks I'm a dumbass? And so when you're living in the future, fear strikes again. Because think about the two places you have no control. You can't control what happened back there. It already happened.
Yeah.
You can't control what happens in the future. Yeah. The only time fear does not have control over you is in the present. Yeah. And so all I do every day is go, what am I going to do today to move the needle? Like I have no idea what my schedule holds for tomorrow. I know I'm in town. That's it. Like every day, tonight, before I go to bed, I'll check my schedule for tomorrow. Yep. So I know what kind of clothes to pack, et cetera, if I'm filming something like this. Otherwise, I know what my schedule is for tomorrow and not the next day. I can't control the next day. Yeah. I can control today. And so like I got to make the best out of this. And then after you leave, we've got some video shoots to do. I'm going to make the best out of those. And then tonight I'm working out with my son. I'm going to make the best of that. I'm always forcing myself to stay in the present. If I think about tomorrow and what I have to accomplish, I know I'm in San Diego tomorrow because I remember seeing that earlier today when I checked. Okay, weather says it's going to rain. I haven't decided if I'm going to drive tonight or if I'm going to wake up early in the morning, or I'm going to have Hugo, my driver, take me. I have 3 options. Either way, I'm going to end up in San Diego. But if I think about that now, this interview is going to be shit. So I could only worry about that tonight when the day is done. So stay in the present. You don't have to worry about the future of what's going to happen. Ironically, the best way to predict the future is to stay in the present and make everything awesome here. And you are literally writing what your future is going to look like and what your past is going to look like. Because I can look back a year from now and go, man, that's quite the track record I have. Yeah. And then every day, if I do awesome things, the future is going to look bright. Yeah. That's how you overcome fear.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It reminds me of my karate days, when we used to go to these big tournaments and you would know the draw a day before. And in the beginning, I always used to look at the draw and I will see like a name. Like, for example, in karate, there's a guy called Rafael Agayev and he's like crazy good. And if I see that name, I would start thinking about that like for too long, and it will make me diminish myself and I will see a lot of hesitation. So I think you're right. Like,
because you were thinking about what if he does this? What if he beats me? What if I lose to him? But what if you're in the present and you're like, what if I just kick his ass?
Yeah.
Someone's gonna, why not you?
Yeah, why not me? And I met with Kenny Florian a couple of weeks ago at the UFC fight, and he said, like, why not you? Like, he tells his students, like, why not you? And I want to tell that to everybody. Why not you? You're seeing all these people online or you're admiring somebody in your town, like, but why not you? If you start doing the work, like let's say you want to be the fucking best, but start now. What can I do right now to move the needle?
Yeah.
So, do you set goals in different areas of life? Is that important as well?
Yes, yes. 4 areas: family, fitness, which is health, right?
Yeah.
I just call it fitness. Family, fitness, finance, your money, and your faith.
Yeah.
Faith could be God, it could be the universe, it could be faith in yourself.
Yeah.
But you still need some kind of faith for grounding, right? Because shit will go wrong. The only type of people that have perfect days every single day are dead people. Like their day is consistently the same. You and I, the car's not going to start, something's going to happen, you don't sleep well at night, right? So you need faith, like, okay, I can pull through, whether it's in God, the universe, or yourself. But yeah, those 4 things: faith, family, fitness, finance. You must have goals set, long-term and short-term.
Yeah. And when you say long-term and short-term, like what's the span? Is that a year is long-term, or is like?
Yeah, so for finance, I'll go out as long as 5 years, right? Because my business, I want to have 2,500 Fit Body Bootcamp locations by 2025. So that's like a long-term goal, right? But short-term, I know we need to close 1 location every other day so that we can get to our big goal. So on the short-term, very short-term, it's 1 location every 2 days. In a month, that's 15 locations, right? And in a year, whatever that number is, and then you add it up. Whereas your health and fitness, just go 12 months, and then 6 months, 90 days, 1 month, weekly, daily. The more you can call it reducing it down to the ridiculous, like reduce it down to the most ridiculous thing. If you go, I want to make $10 million this year, that's a lot of money. Reduce it down to the ridiculous. What do I need to make today to make $10 million by the end of the year? It's probably, I don't know, a few hundred, few $1,000, whatever it is. You could figure it out. $10 million by the end of the year for someone who's never made that kind of money? Shit. That's like saying I'm going to go to Mars. How? Right? Let's just get to the next planet. Let's get to the moon.
Yeah. And I think that's really great, because I think especially people that haven't had like a great track record yet, they are sometimes afraid. But if you know what to do on a daily basis, and you can find those answers. Like I wrote a book, you wrote a book, you can just Google that shit. If you want to start a business, you can Google it, ask somebody, join like a mastermind group or the project or something like that, talk to a coach, because it's going to come down to what are you doing today?
Yeah, that's it. It's the day-to-day goals, man, because beginning of the year, we're coming on to 2020. All these people are going to set their goal. At the end of the year, this year I'm going to make X amount of dollars or lose 50 pounds. And the way they're seeing it is it'll be December 30th or 31st, and they'll have made the money, they'll have lost the pounds, they'll have gotten the person, the wife, the boyfriend, the husband, they'll have done it, right? What if you say tomorrow morning on the 1st, I'm going to do this, and then on the 2nd, I'm going to do that. That's not as sexy when you say, but this is my New Year's resolution. That's why only 11% of people come close to reaching their goal. 11% in the first year. And when you think about how many people maintain it past 3 years, 2%. That's unfortunate, man. And that's because people are just setting a goal without all the micro steps in between. It's the micro things that you do that add up to the macro outcome.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's why I always try to stay focused on the process and not the outcome. Like, I know what I need to do every day to move the needle. I do that shit, and then sometimes I don't even look at the results because I know they will come. And then once I look at them a month later, I say, wow, is this really happened? So I think what do you think about that, to be more committed to the process than the outcome?
Yeah, I think it was the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. They said, how were you able to be successful for so long? Because, they have a special, and they go, shit. So Brian Callen, who's a comedian, he's a friend of mine, he's pretty famous, he's got a couple of TV shows, has a couple of cable HBO specials. And he goes, man, you do a special, and you go, that was my best material. That's it. I just shot my load. It's over. And you go, but you realize if you love the process, fall in love with the process. And that's exactly what Jerry Seinfeld said. He goes, the reason I had decades of longevity is I wasn't trying to get the laugh. I fell in love with the process of writing jokes, of seeing humanity. One of my favorite jokes of his is, how come you can go to all of Europe and you go into any restaurant or hotel, and the hotel lobby restrooms and the restaurant restrooms, like the doors close all the way and the bottom comes down all the way. He goes, in American restrooms, there's a gap in the door you know, you could see someone's ankles, and he goes, you make an awkward eye contact with someone. Like he loves the process of just going into a restaurant, making awkward eye contact, and he loves the process of, can I make this a joke? Like he explained that during one of his stand-ups that I went to. And I was like, that's so cool, man. Like I've made eye contact with someone, right?
Yeah.
And I just go, oh, that was awkward, and I keep going about my business. Like Jerry Seinfeld falls in love with the process, and he goes, I think there's something to that, because when I was in Europe, they didn't have that crack in the door, and it wasn't so awkward. And he starts telling a whole story why that is, and about the different cultures. But you fall in love with the process of anything, of building a franchise. I love the idea of having 2,500 locations, but I've fallen in love with the process of getting people who are searching on Google, Bing, Yahoo, and YouTube to find Fit Body Bootcamp website when they're doing the fitness franchise search. I love that process of getting found. I love the process of us calling them. I love the process of the chase. I love the process of the sales process. I love the process of signing that FDD, which is the franchise disclosure document. I love each of those processes. The Zoom call that we do with every new owner before we award them a franchise, because I do it and my wife does it. And so it's like, oh my God, I'm talking to the CEO because I went through this process with the sales guy, right? Yeah. It's all that process, and then you add all those up and you go, dang man, I got to my goal. Just the process is everything, you're right. It's everything. But most people just want the outcome, and I don't know, maybe society or culture has conditioned us to chase the outcome more than the process.
Yeah. And I mean, the truth is, when you get to 2,500, you're just not going to stop, right?
No, of course not, because when is enough enough? Yeah. If I get to 2,500, does that mean I donate enough money to Shriners and Toys for Tots and Compassion, where all kids are fed and they have gifts and all their medical conditions are solved? No. Like, there will be more kids suffering, and so I must do more.
Yeah. I love it. 2 more questions, then I know you got to go. So is the journey more important than the goal?
The journey is everything. To me, the journey is everything. The journey of entrepreneurship, I'll even say it this way, the journey of losing 100 pounds, like when you see those people that lose like 100 pounds, 200 pounds, they think the outcome, the goal is going to be it, but that journey, what they learned about themselves, the journey of anything big is the best self-development program ever. The journey of starting a brand is the best self-development program. Like, how do you deal with different personalities, right, that are your employees and your team? The journey of trying to figure out to solve a problem, to your weight, you stop losing weight, but you still have 80 more pounds to go. The journey of figuring out how to break your plateau. The journey of the economy crashing, but you have to figure out how to still feed your family. That journey is what builds the man or the woman. That's how we develop into our highest versions of ourselves. I used to think when I was younger that it was the goal. It's not. It is a journey. I'm in love with the journey. Yeah. It's painful sometimes, don't get me wrong. Like having $2 million of supplements sitting on a shelf for 2 months was painful until we figured out how to break it up and just sell one thing at a time, and then we profited 1.4 million in the next 2 months, right? But then it's like, man, I learned something. I learned how to problem solve out of a $2 million problem. That was a pretty big problem to problem solve out of. I like that. It makes me resourceful. It makes me feel like I can figure things out. It gives me a sense of confidence of myself that, God forbid things go wrong, maybe I can figure out a bigger problem. And that gives you a sense of comfort, a sense of peace that, all right, my family's going to be okay, man. You know?
Yeah, I agree. And I love the journey myself. And I used to be so outcome driven, man. It hurt everything in my life, because when I succeeded, it was instead of yes, we want to celebrate, you know?
And then on to the next one.
Yeah, and then on to the next one. So last thing, like if you can just say one thing that our audience today should take with them to crush their goals 2020, what would be that last little thing?
You know, that one thing would be exactly what we talked about. Why not you? Yeah. Why not you? You've got a goal, whether it's a business, whether it's a lifestyle, whether it's a relationship you want to improve this year, whether it's bonding with your kids. Like, why not you? You deserve it. And so if you just focus on the daily micro steps that you have to take and hold yourself accountable, blame no one else but you, tell 5 other people that you believe in and that you trust to hold you accountable, and then set a date. And we should talk about that. A goal is only a goal when there's a deadline set. Yep. Otherwise, it's just a dream, right? And then set a date, tell 5 people, why not you? Most people believe that they don't deserve it, they're not capable of it. I used to feel that way too. And if I could just go back 20 years and tell my 25-year-old self that you do deserve it, you are capable of it, and it's going to feel so damn good to get there. Yeah. Why not you?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, we believe in you. We love you. Get this going. People that like want to connect with you or interested in your businesses and what you do, what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, best way to get in touch with me is to find me on Instagram at Bedros Keuilian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bedros.
Thank you.
You don't. I can't explain how much this means to me that you did this. It's beyond my words, you know, because I love doing this, and I could never imagine myself like doing so many cool conversations, learn so much from people like yourself.
You've got a good gig, man. You do. Like,
thank you, brother.
You get to sit around some awesome people.
It's the best thing ever, you know, and I love it. And to share that with the world.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for watching this special episode of the I Love Success podcast. I had an amazing time. The only thing I would ask for you now is to set your goals and get going with them. Share this video or audio with somebody in the world that needs to hear this message. Help us to achieve our dream to help at least 10 million people in 10 years to achieve their dreams. Thank you.